Hello Safari fans, welcome to year 2 of Safari TV, woohoo! Tonight we're going to be making the best burger in the world. Now I've got a theory when it comes to making burgers. I always find that the simplest is best, let the meat shine through and then you can add your flavours to it afterwards, rather than having stuff chucked inside the burger. So tonight I'm going to be making a Springbok burger with smoked bacon. If you don't know what Springbok is, it's one of the smallest South African antelope. It's absolutely amazing. This recipe can also be made with venison or deer, and it can be made with beef as well. So stay tuned, we'll give you a few simple tips that'll make your burgers come out absolutely great. Like I said, we're starting with 700 grams of Springbok here. This could be 700 grams of venison. It could also be beef as well. Out of this we're aiming to make about 3 half-pound burgers or about 250 gram burgers. We're going to be adding some smoked bacon into that just now. So the next thing you want to do is find the most manly masculine scissors you can. I was going to try and chop this in a food processor. It worked a little bit better last time, but Safari Sue said you probably need to add a bit of liquid to that to get it to chunk up. So I'm going to give it a go with scissors. If it comes to it, I've got a knife as well, but we should be able to get fine little choppy bits. I told you a little fib before this, about 100 grams of smoked bacon. It doesn't have to be smoked if you're not a fan of the flavour. But what this is going to do with Springbok and venison, they're very sort of low fat meats, so it's going to add a bit of fat as well as that little bit of smokiness that goes through it. I'm using about 2 slices per burger here. I've cut them into about ½ centimetre strips and I'm just going to finely dice them now into the bowl with the rest of the meat. To be honest, this probably would have worked a bit better with a knife, but how often do you get to use scissors like these? If you can't get a hold of venison or Springbok, whether it's through legal or illegal means, then try to get beef with a minimum fat quantity of 20%. You don't need to worry too much about the fat. It's going to flavour the meat. You'll find that when you fry one of these burgers, a lot of the fat's going to be left in the pan at the end, so as long as you've got a pan with maybe a slight little run of it, or just give it a little tilt towards the end so that the fat runs off, you'll find that they're not too fatty. The next thing we're going to do, and this is one of the first important things to do, is mix our meat. So what I'm doing here is just laying it out on a chopping board. The reason for this is the mistake a lot of people do is over mix their meat. They really shove it down, sort of push it together, and that's one of the reasons why the texture can be a little bit firm. It can also mean that your burger, when it's fried, can turn into a little fried meatball instead of a burger shape. You've probably noticed by now that we haven't added any eggs to bind it, we haven't added any carrots, any herbs or spices, or of course there's a bit of flavouring from the smoked bacon, which is just going to be quite subtle for the amount that we've put in, and there's a bit of salt in there as well. But like we said, this is the best burger and it's going to taste absolutely amazing. So once the bacon's mixed with the meat, we're just going to transfer it lightly again into this bowl. Like I said, we're going to make about 3 6-ounce burgers here. We're going to make them nice and substantial, something to get your teeth into, but this is enough to make 4, probably even 6 smaller burgers if you want. You're laughing at my... It's quite hard to present when you're going...
That's what you did?
Well, yeah, that's my meat hands. I'm keeping them free from thinking. Okay, do you want to come a bit closer?
Not really.
Alright, so what I'm going to do is get a really good handful of this meat here, pretty much 1/3 of it. And I'm just going to gently start to form that. Now the heat of your hands will start to melt the fat slightly, so it's going to form a little bit better. The looser you can keep this on the inside, the less it's going to swell up at the end. Some people think this is quite therapeutic. If this is how you get therapy in your life, good luck to you, but try and keep it an even thickness throughout the burger. Saying that though, if you get some little thin crispy bits around the edges, I'm always a fan of different types of flavours and textures in foods. Zoom in on them. Don't worry about me, I'm just carrying them.
They're massive.
They are. Go. Okay, so tip number 2, and this is an important one, is to put a little dip, just press down the middle of your burger, about golf ball size, depending on the size of your burger of course, and to about halfway to 2/3 of the way through, that's going to become the bottom of the burger when we cook it, and that's really going to stop it from balling up in the middle. It makes a big difference, this one. Usually I'm a big fan of taking meat out of the fridge and letting it come to room temperature before I cook it, but with these, with burgers, I tend to put them in the fridge for a little bit and it just sort of tightens them up a little bit and lets them hold their form a little bit more as well. So we're going to do that for a little while and then we'll get cooking.
Let's talk about salt, baby.
So let's talk about salt. People are quite concerned about salt nowadays. The doctors haven't said this week that salt's okay, but I'm guessing that it's going to happen pretty soon. You do need salt for brain function after all. So that said, we don't use table salt anymore. We always use sea salt. I looked into the mineral contents and things, and table salt is the equivalent of sugar compared to honey. There's absolutely nothing in it apart from that sort of... So yeah, if you want vitamins and minerals, not vitamins, probably just minerals. You can tell I've done the science. So if you want to get those minerals in you, and some of the minerals that you don't get an awful lot of, get some salt in you. You're allowed, they say you're allowed about 6 grams a day. If you're eating ready meals every day, that's gonna hit you. But if you know how much salt's going into your stuff, there's nothing you need to worry about. Of course, with sea salt as well, it's got a saltier taste than salt. So. And of course sea salt's got a saltier taste than salt, so you don't need to use as much. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a bit of our finest Peruvian sea salt onto the top of these burgers. It's probably about 2 to 3 pinches. Remember, these are quite large burgers. You might see some chefs chucking it on, and that's all very well and good. That's all very well and good for a restaurant. That's going to taste quite nice, but yeah, there is such a thing as too much salt. Thought I'd hear myself say that. So what you're going to see me do is salt what's going to become the bottom of these burgers here. I'm also going to add maybe just 1 pinch, about 1/3 amount of cracked black pepper there. I usually use coarse ground pepper. I prefer that, or a mix of both. This is fairly well ground though. One of the advantages of seasoning outside is that you can use a lot less salt and pepper. Rather than it being flavoured inside and being hidden, it really hits you on the tongue a little bit more. So I've seasoned what's going to become the bottom of these burgers here. I'm going to flip them over, cook them in the pan, and then while they're in the pan I'm going to season the tops as well. So let's get cooking. Okay, I'm going to cook these, because they're quite thick burgers, I'm going to cook them quite a low to medium heat for quite a while. A mistake people make, a mistake people make when they're frying stuff is just not to let the frying pan come up to temperature. You want it pretty hot in there, you want to hear that sizzle. I was just concerned that was too much of a sizzle. You want it pretty hot in there, you want to hear a bit of a sizzle, because as soon as you put stuff in there the temperature is going to drop, so it adds to that nice leave it. Go back. I've added a touch of oil in here just so that it doesn't stick. It's quite a small pan and they're quite big burgers, so I'm going to cook them one at a time here. A little bit of resting with meat's not going to hurt it at all. Okay, so you've got to be reasonably careful with this because it's not squashed to hell. And as soon as it goes in there, just give it a little move about to ensure that it doesn't stick. That's already broken apart slightly, so what I'm going to do is just give it a little bit of pressure on the sides there to make sure it stays together. We've already seasoned one side of the burger. I'm just going to add again about 3 pinches of salt to what is now the top of this one, and about 1 pinch of black pepper. If you were going ultra African, you could always use some Nor Aromat. This does contain MSG, but it certainly adds flavour to stuff. Right, so give that about 2 minutes again. The reason for that is because it's quite loosely packed, so we want it to sort of compress and stick together. Probably burnt. So like I mentioned, that dip in the middle has stopped it from shrinking. It's also allowed it to cook a lot more evenly than it would have if it was just a big thick piece of meat. This one's Safari Suze, so we're just going to add a slice of Emmental cheese to that to let it melt while it's resting. I need to do the onions and tomatoes as well. Right, do you want to start dressing? Into the same pan here, I've just added a little bit of rustically chopped, red onion. Usually I'm a white onion fan, but there's a reason for this. So that's just going to soak up some of the juices. It's going to cook in some of the flavour of that burger as well. When we build our burger, we're not going to go crazy on this. Flavours are about proportions. Chucking a load of stuff on sometimes looks good, but sometimes less is more. What we've done so far is some interesting salad leaves on the bottom. A little bit of greenery always goes great with a burger. And we've added a slice of beef tomato onto that. As you should be able to see now, packing that really loosely, the burger is almost breaking up there now that it's cooked, but that and the dent in the middle, it stopped it from shrinking, but it really hasn't bunched up in the middle like burgers can do. While I was cooking that, I made some crispy onions. I'm just going to add some crispy onion on this one. A little bit of crispy onion because venison's got a bit more of a robust flavour to it. It can handle that. I'm also going to be serving that in a granary roll or bun. Something some people are a fan of, I know Safari Sue isn't, so that's why I didn't do it for hers, is just a little bit of raw onion as well. Always goes fantastic. It might look like a lot of onion, but that crispy caramelised onion is going to be nice and sweet. This stuff's still going to have a little bit of tang to it. This time I've used salad onion so it doesn't overpower the meat there, but this is going to be absolutely amazing. You didn't think you were going to get away without the hard sell, did you? This is our muti sauce. Oh, hang on. This is our muti sauce, this is our yummy yummy. This one is based on African monkey gland sauce. This one is our own creation, which is absolutely wonderful. Both of them go really well with red meats. This one's got a little hint of sweetness, which is unusual for our sauces. This one is deep and magical, to be honest with you. I'm going to go for our muti sauce, but I'm not going to just swathe the whole burger in that. You're going to want to taste all the things that we've done before that, the seasoning, the meat that we've used and everything. So what we tend to do, what we recommend to our customers as well, is cook something wonderful, or buy something wonderful from us, and then just put a few drops in the back end, or a little bit, depending on how much you can handle. A little bit of our muti on there. Safari don't believe in mixing stuff to hell and having big uniform textures for everything. We like little flavour bursts. And that, my dear, will be lovely.
If you could just get out of the shot, because I've got crop.
Do you want a better background? It's always good.
Stop messing it up.
So that's our dinner for tonight. Really, when you're making a burger, my best advice is keep it simple. Add the flavours that you want afterwards. You don't want to chuck everything into the meat and everything becomes uniform. And just put little hints and bits and pieces around it. We're going to go and eat these now, so we won't keep you too long. We won't keep you too long. We're going to go and eat these now, but if you can get Springbok, fantastic. If you can get venison or deer, amazing. If you can get beef, love it. Love it. That sounds like Jamie Oliver. I'm not doing that again. No matter what meat you're using, these are going to taste absolutely amazing. For something slightly different, go for two little thin ones if you like things a little bit crisper, not as juicy. It's an interesting little different textures. Maybe one of these half-sized with a bit of butterfly chicken underneath, maybe a couple of slices of bacon on. We might get to those ones one day, and we'll probably cook some wacky burgers for you with a few interesting flavourings through them. But honestly, it doesn't get better than this. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see some of our other recipes, you can subscribe to Safari TV here, there, somewhere. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye.